So chapter 26, page 569, Introduction to Rasa Tattva. Vijay Kumar was absent for about a month. This is after the wedding. During this time, Brajanath's grandmother, who understood the dispositions of both Brajanath and Vijay Kumar, arranged for a suitable bride through a Brahmin mediator. When Vijay Kumar was informed, he sent his younger brother to Bilva Pushkarini to organize the wedding ceremony, which was duly performed at an astrologically auspicious time on an auspicious day. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is including all these details to show us, to introduce us, if we're not familiar with the Indian culture, to the Indian culture, to the mood that Brajanath is having a wife chosen for him. It's out of the question amongst Paka Vaishnavas or Brahmanas that they would choose their own bride. Actually, normally in most weddings now, today, in India even, they don't see the bride until the actual wedding day. And they don't even see her until many of the ceremonies that take place, and then her veil is lifted and the husband sees the wife for the first time, because the idea of marriage in a Vedic culture is not that we're attracted on the bodily platform. The idea is that the husband and wife can maintain a team, a supportive team through life to support their bhakti, to help the ashram of their progress in the path towards their Krishna service. This is the principal idea of this Vedic culture. It's not about how we have in Western world. It's just about I, me, and mine. What do I enjoy? How much do I want to get some pleasure and satisfaction out of these relationships? This is not the idea. So it's very beautifully the way that Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings this in a very clear way. And the astrological auspicious time is very important also, because astrologically all these things can be calculated to get the most effect of the activity we're going to perform. So Vijay Kumar arrived sometime later, when all the marriage proceedings had been completed. He sat without much interest in the situation around him and did not discuss worldly affairs such as health and prosperity, for his heart was deeply absorbed in spiritual matters. So this is an example of detachment. This is an example we read in the last chapter, how to be constantly taking this Harinam. So this is a mood of Vijay Kumar. He's constantly internally relishing spiritual states of consciousness. He's only thinking about that direction. It's captured his whole being, more or less. Brajanath detected his indifference and said, "Uncle, your heart appears to be uncertain these days. Why is that? It is simply by your order that I am bound in the shackles of worldly life. What have you decided to do yourself?" Vijay Kumar said, "I have decided to finally go to Sridham Puri to have the darshan of Sri Purushottam, Sri Jagannath Dev. Some pilgrims are setting out for Puri in a few days, and I will also go with them. I shall go and take permission from Sri Gurudev." That's also very important, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is including. We should not make any independent move without the sanction and blessing of Gurudev. If Gurudev gives his blessing, it will be totally successful. But if we just run independently to do things, then it won't have the blessings of Guru. Guru won't even have an opportunity to give his blessings if it's done independently. So again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is bringing in all these understandings, conceptions within the pastime that he's describing here. After taking lunch that afternoon, Brajanath and Vijay went to Mayapur, where they offered Dandavat pranams to Raghunath Das Babaji's feet and begged his permission to make a pilgrimage to Puri. Babaji Mahashai was delighted to hear their plea. His heart melted with affection, and he said, "It is very good that you are going to Puri to take darshan of Sri Jagannath Dev. Sriman Mahaprabhu's sitting place is in Kashi Mishra's house in Puri, and Sri Gopal Guru Goswami, the disciple of Vakrashra Pandit, is present there now in all his glory." So the other day was Vakrashra Pandit's appearance day, and I forgot to mention anything, but I posted something on the thread. Vakrashra Pandit, a great associate in the spiritual world. He's Krishna's grandson, and he's also part of the Chatuvyuha, the quadruple expansion, Aniruddha. So Vakrashra Pandit, very powerful personality. He would dance for 72 hours, non-stop, and he begged Mahaprabhu for 10,000 Gandharvas to sing while he chanted his kirtan, while he performed his kirtan. So he's a great, thousands of disciples he had, and a great personality. And Sri Gopal Guru was his disciple. So this is the line we're in. It's very important to understand our line. So we're coming from Vakrashra Pandit to Gopal Guru. This is the line that Vijay Kumar and Brajanath are going to connect with. Be sure to have his darshan and accept his instructions with devotion. Nowadays, it is only in that Mahatma's throat that the splendor of Sri Swarup Goswami's teachings is fully manifest. So Swarup Goswami manifested as Lalita Saki all the teachings, and he instructed Raghunath Das Goswami, who lived with Swarup Damodar. So Swarup Goswami, Swarup Damodar, is such an important personality. So again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making the line very clearly through the hearts of all these personalities. Nothing is separate from these Vaishnavas. Having received Sri Gurudev's permission, Brajanath and Vijay Kumar joyfully returned home. On the way, at Brajanath's eager request, Vijay Kumar agreed to also take him to Puri. When they arrived home, they disclosed their plans for the pilgrimage to everyone. Brajanath's grandmother was also ready to go with them. So finally it was decided that all three would go to Puri together. So again, this is the Vedic culture, that you take grandmother with you. You don't leave her behind. You might be thinking, poor old grandmother, she's hard to walk and this and that, she needs to be taken care of. Yes, it's the responsibility of those junior family members to take care of the elderly family members. This is absolutely the responsibility. So again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is weaving in the picture of what is Vedic culture. The famous Rath Yatra of Sri Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra Devi is held in Puri in the month of Aksara, June, July. At that time, those who are dedicated to Dharma flood in from all corners of India and descend on Puri en masse. For this reason, pilgrims from distant places set out from their homes many days beforehand in order to arrive in good time. The month of Jyeshta, May and June, had scarcely begun when these three also set out for Puri, along with the other pilgrims. So this is all at this particular time, right now, at this time, the end of June is what we're talking about now. So we've caught up with them. We are catching the same time frame. After walking for some days, they passed Dantana and arrived in Jaleshwar. That's about a third of the way down towards Puri. It's near Remuna. Gradually moving on, they took darshan of Kirchur Gopinath, that's in Remuna, and came to Sri Brajarat Ketra, Viraj Ketra, Kshetra. magnifying glass. Someone commented the other day that I couldn't have glasses, but yesterday I went to Navadvip to order my spectacles, so they're coming, but I'm using a magnifying glass for now. Viraj Khetra, where they performed Nabigaya Kriya and took bath in the Vaitarani. Later they had darshan of Sri Shakshi Gopal in Katak and Sri Lingaraj in Ekamra Khana, and finally arrived in Sri Khetra Puri Dham. All the pilgrims were accommodated in various places as directed by their respective pandas, guardian priests. Vijay Kumar, again, this is an indication of the systematic order, actually, of the lives of pilgrims in India. It's not just spontaneous, just going wherever you want. Actually, in Puri, because they have so many, sometimes they have as many as 8 million people come for the Rath Yatra festival. So the pandas, they have various accommodations allotted, and they'll help the pilgrims in their, given their facility. Vijay Kumar, Brajanath and Brajanath's grandmother found lodgings in Harishchandra Sahi. In accordance with the regulative principles, they took bath in the sea and then went for darshan of Sri Jagannath. They began to take darshan, perform parikram, and honor the prasad of the various tirthas of that dharm. After 3 or 4 days, Vijay Kumar and Brajanath had darshan of Sri Vigraha, of the Sri Vigraha of Sriman Mahaprabhu, as well as his footprints, and also his fingerprints impressed on the Garuda Stamba, column of Garuda, in the temple of Sri Jagannath Dev. When Sriman Mahaprabhu took darshan of Sri Jagannath Dev, he would become overwhelmed with prem, and streams of tears would flow from his eyes. At such times, the stones beneath his feet melted from his touch and were marked with his footprints. At the same time, his prem also melted the Garuda Stamba, which he used to support himself, and the marks of his fingers became imprinted there. This is remarkable, that Mahaprabhu's prem was so intensely hot that it would melt the Garuda Stamba. His prem also melted the Garuda Stamba, which he used to support himself, and the marks of his fingers became imprinted there. When Vijay Kumar and Brajanath saw these impressions, they became overwhelmed with prem. How beautiful. That same day, they went to Kashi Mishra Bhavan. In that great house constructed from stone is Sri Gambhira, the small room in which Sriman Mahaprabhu would reside in his state of prem. There, in order to console him when he was immersed in feelings of separation from Krishna, his dear associates, Sri Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai Ramananda, would recite shlokas and sing bhajans about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. They would sing from the Gita Govinda, the Jagannath Nataka, written by Ramananda Rai, and songs of Vidyapati, and songs of the Kavi Kanpur, Bilvamangala Thakur. Vijay Kumar and Brajanath took darshan of that place and of Sriman Mahaprabhu's paraphernalia, such as his wooden sandals that are gloriously present there. On one side, within, is the mandir of Sri Radha Kant, and on the other side was the seat of Sri Gopal Guru. So if you're familiar with the Gambhira and the mandir of Radha Kant, and inside there you see the murti of Gopal Guru there. Vijay and Brajanath fell at Sri Gopal Guru's Goswami's feet. They were carried away in the happiness of prem and began to shed tears. Sri Guru Goswami was very pleased to see their ecstatic sentiments and embraced them. He made them sit down close to him and immediately asked, "I wish to know who you are." When Vijay and Brajanath introduced themselves, Guru Goswami's eyes began to stream with tears of love. Hearing the name of Sri Navadvip, he said, "Today I have become blessed by seeing the residence of Sri Dham Navadvip. Tell me, how are the Vaishnavas in Mayapur, such as Sri Raghunath Das and Gorachand Das? Are they well? Aho, when I remember Raghunath Das, the memories of my Shiksha Guru, Sri Das Goswami, comes to my mind. So all of these personalities, all these names are like, we say udipans, inspirations for their affection towards Mahaprabhu. Guru Goswami called his disciple Dayana Chandra and said, "These two Mahatmas will take prasad here today." Sri Dayana Chandra took them both to his room and offered them Sri Mahaprasad. Afterwards, the three of them discussed many subjects. Dayana Chandra Goswami was overjoyed when he saw Vijay Kumar's vast erudition of Srimad Bhagavatam and recognized Brajnath as a fine scholar of all the Shastras. He related all their discussions to Sri Guru Goswami, who was also delighted to hear of their expertise in Shastra. Sri Gopal Guru Goswami called them near to him and said, "You are both very dear to me. Kindly allow me to see you every day as long as you stay in Purushottam Dham." What a beautiful welcome. This is a beautiful Vaishnava mood when someone appreciates through Shastra the specialities of these confidential truths and the eagerness of these two personalities, Vijay and Brajanath, were acknowledged by Gopal Guru. Vijay Kumar humbly replied, "O Prabhu, Sri Raghunath Das Babaji of Sri Mayapur has bestowed great mercy upon us. He has given us so much shiksha, and he ordered us to accept instructions at your divine feet." Guru Goswami said, "Raghunath Das Babaji is a highly learned scholar, and you should follow his instructions thoroughly. If you want to know anything further, you may come here tomorrow afternoon and present your inquiries. You may honor Mahaprasad here tomorrow." They conversed for some time, then Vijay and Brajanath took permission from Sri Guru Goswami and returned to Harichandra Sahi. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is painting a beautiful picture here of association with the backdrop of Sri Puri Dham. We've shifted now and we're building the platform for the next installment of discussion on Rasa Tattva. The next day, Vijay Kumar and Brajanath returned to Sri Radhakant Math at the appointed time. They honored Prasad and then approached Sri Gopal Guru Goswami. When they had offered their respectful pranams to him, they said, "Prabhu, we want to know about Rasa Tattva. Our lives will become successful when we hear about Krishna Bhakti Ras from your lotus mouth." Now, we've already discussed what is Bhav Bhakti. We've already discussed what is Raganuga Bhakti. We've already discussed what is Vaidhi Bhakti. We've created a platform now to enter into the confidential topics of Rasa Tattva. So this is where we're going for the next 14 chapters. We're going into this realm of Bhakti Ras, these rasic descriptions of the path to the innermost core of the heart and the relationship of service to the divine couple. When they had offered their respectful pranams to him, they said, "Prabhu, we want to know about Rasa Tattva. Our lives will become successful when we hear about Krishna Bhakti Ras from your lotus mouth. You are the preeminent holy master of the Nimananda Sampradaya, and you are reigning as Jagat Guru on the seat of Sriman Mahaprabhu's successor, Sri Swarup Damodar." So we hear this line, this Nimananda Sampradaya. This is a name for the Sampradaya that is coming through Nimai Pandit, of course, and it's called Nimananda Sampradaya. So there are slight nuances or distinctions in the line. We are coming in the Rupanuga Guru Varga line. So this Nimananda line actually has Swarup Damodar in this line. Our line also are the truths. It's the same. But this Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving this name, Nim Ananda Sampradaya, and are the reigning Jagat Guru on the seat of Sriman Mahaprabhu's successor, Sri Swarup Goswami. We desire to hear Rasa Tattva from your divine lips, so that our scholarship may become fruitful. We understand actually that all the Rasic topics are held in the throat of Swarup Damodar, who revealed them more clearly to Raghunath Das, who was actually there in Puri for 14 years, living with Swarup Damodar. So it's described how Raghunath Das, he takes notes, his kadachas, but Swarup Damodar, his notes were very brief, and he reveals these notes to Raghunath Das. And then Raghunath Das reveals these to Krishnadas Kaviraj, and Krishnadas Kaviraj bestows on us the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So all of these truths, absolutely all of them, are contained within the teachings of Krishnadas Kaviraj in the writings of this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Gopal Guru Goswami was overjoyed, and taking these worthy disciples to a solitary place, he spoke to them. Sachinandan Nimai Pandit appeared in Sri Navadvip Mayapur, and he is the very life breath of the bhaktas of Sri Gauda Mandal, Sri Ketra Mandal, and Sri Braja Mandal. May that Sachinandan give us joy. So every sentence of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's is actually loaded fact, loaded with direction. We're understanding that Gauda Mandal, Ketra Mandal, and Braja Mandal ultimately are non-different because they're all representing the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They're all aspects of Mahaprabhu's teachings. We should become very familiar with these three dhams. May that Sachinandan give us joy. May Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami, whose Madhurya Ras Seva always fills Sri Mahaprabhu with elation, be manifest in the core of our hearts. Sri Vakrashra Pandit thoroughly captivated Nimai Pandit with his dancing. He also showered his mercy on Devananda Pandit by purifying him and making him Krishna's Bhakta. May that Sri Vakrashra Pandit confer all auspiciousness upon us. We understand how Devananda Pandit was actually born in Navadvip, was a great scholar of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and was a very purified soul. And he was reciting the Bhagavatam in the presence of many of his students in Koladvip, the region of Devananda Mat now. And Srivas Thakur, he heard the recitation, he came into that assembly, and he was immediately transported into a mood of complete unrestrained ecstasy, and began rolling on the ground in ecstasy to hear the topics that Devananda Pandit was speaking. And but Devananda Pandit's students were very neophyte and uneducated, and they picked Srivas Thakur up and they put him in the street. They couldn't tolerate his exhibition of ecstasies. And when Srivas Thakur came to his senses, he was very unhappy and disappointed that he'd been put into the street. And he returned home, and Mahaprabhu was totally furious when he actually heard of this treatment. And he condemned Devananda Pandit to never have bhakti. But Devananda Pandit had one saving grace, that he knew Vakrashra Pandit. And Vakrashra Pandit educated him into the truths of the confidentiality of the sweetness and speciality of Krishna's pastime. Devananda Pandit had not been speaking from a rasic perspective. He'd been speaking more in the Vaidhi line. So he didn't understand these topics. But Vakrashra Pandit softened his heart completely. And on the strength of Vakrashra Pandit, Devananda Pandit ran to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he met him later on in the street, begging forgiveness. And Mahaprabhu at that time said, yes, you will get full forgiveness when you beg at the lotus feet of Srivas Thakur. He is the one you need to get forgiveness from. So he did that. So this is why this is called Aparad Bhanjan Pat. This place of the Devananda Gaudiya Mat today is considered the place where all offenses are easily forgiven. So this is one of the offenses. There are other offenses there too that were forgiven. but this is the one that we're talking about here. Rasa is an unequaled tattva, which can be compared to the rising of the moon, whose radiance is the expanding lila of Parabrahm, Sri Krishna. Now this next sentence is very important. Bhakti Ras is the function of Krishna Bhakti when it becomes absolutely pure. By the way, when we're going through these chapters, I would really encourage you to take notes as we go along, because you're going to forget these topics. Definitely you're going to forget these things. And 2, 5, 6 years later, these things are not going to be prominent in your mind perhaps, and you want to refresh. So without having to read extensively, you can just look in your notes. Notes are very, very important to have there. So this Bhakti Ras is the function of Krishna Bhakti when it becomes absolutely pure. That's the most beautiful sentence. This Bhakti Ras, the function of Krishna Bhakti when it becomes absolutely pure. Brajanath, is rasa a principle that is predetermined? It's a very good question. Goswami, in other words, are the bhaktas, the sadhaks, going to naturally come into this world of rasa? Is it going to happen by itself? If I just keep chanting Hare Krishna, will I just come into the realm of rasa tattva? Will it happen automatically? Or will I have to do something extraneously to make it happen? So Goswami is saying, I cannot answer that question in a single word, yes or no. I will explain the subject elaborately so that you can understand it clearly. The Krishna Rati, about which you have heard from your Gurudev, is called Staibhav. So this is our fixed identity, our fixed Siddhadeya. When the other components, samagri, of rasa, now this is why we need to take notes, we need to get the vocabulary down. There's a certain vocabulary here that we're going to be exposed to today. Quite a few words will be there. You should jot down each of the words. If you're not familiar with the vocabulary of Rasa Tattva, you should write them down because you will forget them. And we want to become very familiar, like we became familiar with so many terminologies in the first 25 chapters. Now we've got a new vocabulary being presented. So in order to learn that like a new language, not many words, maybe 20, 30 words only, and they're all in the glossary, and if we can capture these, then we can become more fluent in our appreciation of the text. When the other components, samagri, of rasa, are combined with the staibhav, the resultant manifestation is called Krishna Bhakti Ras. So there are other components which are going to be described now, and when those are mixed together in the proper combinations, when that samagri is mixed, then it will produce the right result. Brajanath, will you kindly explain in detail what is staibhav and what are the constituent ingredients, samagri, of ras? We have heard from our Gurudev about bhav, but we have not heard how bhavs combine with each other to form rasa. So my Gurudev often gives the example about making nimbu pani. You have your lemon and you have your sugar and you have your water, but you need to know the quantities of each to make a relishable, tasty nimbu pani. If you just put 25 nimbus in, a little bit of sugar and practically no water, you're not going to end up with a very nice taste. So there's a science to it, there's a recipe to it. So this is what this is going to be described here. Goswami, ordinarily at the stage of bhav, bhakti is Krishna Rati. So bhav and rati are actually the same. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's already explained this. Raghunath Das Babaji has already explained that rati and bhav he considers the same. He said it 3 or 4 times in one chapter. Rati and bhav he considers the same. This rati arises in the heart of the bhakta from the sanskars of past and present lives. So these are called Gada Sanskars, which are going to be described in the 28th chapter. These are of two types. Adunika, that's in this life, and Prachana, which is in previous births. So we'll discuss this. And develops further to the stage of Rasa, when it becomes the very embodiment of Anand. It is made up of 4 different ingredients: Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattvika, and Vyabhachari or Sanchari. By the way, if you listen to the narration that I made so many years ago, I mispronounce this word Vibhav every single time. I say Vaibhav. It's not Vaibhav, it's Vibhav. I've just, for some reason or other, I mispronounced it the whole way through. It's Vibhav. Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattvika, and Vyabhachari or Sanchari. I will first explain these ingredients. Vibhav is the cause of tasting rati, and it has 2 divisions: Alamban, the support, and Udipan, the awakening stimulus. Alamban also has 2 divisions, namely the object, Vishaya, and the abode, Ashraya. The Ashraya of Rati is the person in whom Rati exists, and the Vishaya of Rati is the person towards whom Rati is directed. Vishaya means the enjoyer. Who is the enjoyer of that Rati? It's Krishna, or the object of enjoyment. Krishna's bhaktas are the Ashraya of Rati, because they have Rati in their hearts, whereas Krishna is the Vishaya of Rati, because Rati is directed towards him. Is that clear? So, Krishna's bhaktas are the Ashraya, the abode, the place of this bhav. And the focus, the object, is Krishna, so he is the Vishaya. Now, I said to you yesterday how this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu is 100% necessary to have beside us as we're studying these chapters. Now, in this section here, if you've got this edition, it's on page 175. You see very clearly Vibhav, the cause of tasting Rati. There's a beautiful diagram here. It's very, very clear. You can examine it, you can draw it down yourself. You see, when we draw it ourselves in our notebooks, it'll make an impression in the head. It'll make an impression in the consciousness. If we just look at it, it'll just drift away and we'll lose it. We won't understand it, we won't catch it. To catch it, we need to actually apply ourselves to trying to impress it within our consciousnesses first, in the Sangvit Vritti, and then bring it into the this Hladini Vritti, mixing in the heart. So this is on page 175 in this edition, and in the previous edition, the older edition, it's on page 163. Please take a note of this and keep that diagram somewhere. Because when you look at the diagram, read through the diagram, absorb the diagram, it'll really begin to make sense. Otherwise, if you're hearing this, if you're not so familiar with this topic, then it's not going to resonate sufficiently or significantly enough to actually go forward with this. We have to resonate with it. We want to make it part of ourselves. Because as I said before, for many, this may be new territory, so to speak, which is a great inspiration for the devotee who's been chanting for so long. There are so many devotees that never even enter the arena of Bhakti Ras. Actually, practically, they condemn that arena. They just speak, distribute books, you're not the body, you're the soul, etc. They speak on this platform all the time. They never actually come into the realm of Bhakti Ras. Many, but it's so inspiring to walk into this kingdom of rasa. But we need to apply ourselves. So the application is quite simple, just like when you're in any learning institution, you have to take the notes and write. So these 2 editions I've given you, and we can post it on our WhatsApp thread. But please try to capture it. So 4 ingredients: Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattvika, and Vyabhachari Bhav. Vyabhachari and Sanchari are exactly the same. They're no different at all. I will first explain these ingredients. So we've just read that paragraph. I'm going to read it one more time, just so it'll make a deeper impression. Vibhav is the cause of tasting rati. Vibhav, it's the cause of tasting rati. There has to be a cause for our tasting bhav. What is the reason for that? And it has two divisions. Alamban, the support, and Udipan, the awakening stimulus. Udipan is very simple. It's what stimulates you. The Alamban is a little different, little challenging. Alamban has two divisions, namely the object, the Vishaya, the object of our attraction, and the abode, the devotee, the Ashraya. The Ashraya of Rati is the person in whom Rati exists. That's the sadhak. While the Vishaya of Rati is the person towards whom Rati is directed. Krishna's bhaktas are the Ashraya of Rati because they have Rati in their hearts, whereas Krishna is the Vishaya of Rati because Rati is directed towards him. Okay? So it's there for our contemplation. It's as if we're being given the opportunity to enter this place of absorption, and it's our choice every time how much we apply ourselves to the descriptions. If we apply ourselves, then very quickly we'll become familiar, and it'll produce so much nectar within the consciousness. Brajanath, so far we have understood that Vibhav is divided into two parts, Alamban and Udipan, and that Alamban is also divided into two categories, namely Ashraya and Vishaya. Krishna is Vishaya and the Bhaktas are Ashraya. Now, we are inquisitive to know whether Krishna is sometimes the Ashraya of Rati. So is Krishna sometimes tasting that bhav? Very wonderful question. Goswami, yes, he is. When bhaktas have rati towards Krishna, Krishna is Vishaya, and the bhaktas are Alamban. And when Krishna has rati towards the bhaktas, then Krishna is the Ashraya, and bhaktas are the Vishaya. There are so many examples when Krishna has so much attraction and affection to his bhaktas. Like Sudama Brahmana, for example, like all the cowherd boys. Krishna is so attracted to all of them. So he is becoming like the Ashraya, and the object of his attraction is Sridham, Subal, etc. What to speak of the gopis, his attraction for them. He becomes the Ashraya. There are so many nuances amongst all these descriptions. We're just chalking out the skeleton, so to speak. And it's through our devotion and our sincerity and our practice that we will be able to fill in this house of rasa. Brajanath, we have heard from our Gurudev that Sri Krishna's 64 qualities. We have heard from our Gurudev about Sri Krishna's 64 qualities. We heard this in chapter 13. You remember in chapter 13 we discussed all Krishna's 64 qualities. If there is anything further to be described in regard to Sri Krishna, please tell us. So we're trying to understand our bhav towards Krishna. So Brajanath is asking, is there something further to enhance our attraction to Krishna that wasn't given previously amongst the 64 qualities that we've already heard about? And Goswami is saying, although all the qualities exist fully in Krishna, his manifestation is complete in Dwarka, more complete in Mathura, and most complete in Gokul. So there's gradation. There's gradation. This is what my Gurudev gave constantly. This is because of the degree to which the qualities are manifested in the respective dhams. Krishna is one, but he plays the parts of four types of heroes, Nayak. According to the differences in his Leela. They are Dhirodhata, Dhirolalit, Dhiroshanta, and Dhirodatta. Rajanath, what type of Nayak hero is Dhirodatta? Now, I just explained in this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about the diagram for Alamban and Vishaya. And if you look on the other page, you've got all these heroes are here, and it's very clearly the same. I said yesterday how these chapters are paralleling the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That every chapter we can parallel it with this Bindu. So it's a great support to us. It's a great help. The symptoms of Krishna as Dhirodat Nayak are gravity, courtesy, forgiveness, compassion, modesty, and concealed pride. So after some time, we'll become familiar with these four heroes. It's very important for us to become familiar with these four types of heroes because they're interrelated, or it gives us a greater, gives us a closer connection with Krishna, understanding his distinct characteristics described in this way. What kind of Nayak is a Dhira Lalit? Goswami, Krishna falls under the control of his beloved gopis because he is expert in relishing loving mellows, rasik. He is on the threshold of youth, Navayovana, and he is ingenious in joking, parihasya, chaturi. And he is free from anxiety, nischintya. That is why he is called Dhira Lalit Nayak. All the pastimes, all the activities of Krishna in Vrindavan are this Dhira Lalit Nayak, this youthful, frivolous, joking, beautiful young hero. So we're getting to know Krishna more thoroughly. So this is very essential for us to appreciate. Rajanath, and what are the symptoms of Dhirshantaha? Goswami, Krishna is known as Dhirashanta Nayak when he is decorated with the qualities of being naturally sedate, forbearing, judicious, and humble. So again, these are described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu in more detail. Brajanath, what is Dhirodatta? Goswami, sometimes in his Leela, Krishna is also seen to be jealous, egotistical, deceitful, angry, fickle, and boastful. At that time, he is called Dhirodatta Nayak. So all of these characteristics are in the one personality. So we're developing our attraction for Krishna as the Vishaya. This is called Rasa Tattva. How can we fall in love with Krishna more deeply to develop our bhav towards him, except by understanding his qualities and characteristics more thoroughly? And they're being opened out and unpacked in these four categories. So I'm going to stop here, but this is a very essential topic that we're going through, these four types of character or Nayak in Krishna, and we'll repeat them tomorrow and go through them further detailed. But please take shelter of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu and get further clarity on these. We've got to be completely grounded on this platform to progress. The mood of rati, of bhav, there's vibhav. We're still discussing what is the vibhav, what is the cause of rati. So we'll stop here. So we're on to page 576, chapter 26. And we've come through, and we've talked about the 4 different ingredients, the Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattviga, Vyabhacharya, and he's just mentioned these. He hasn't gone into the details of them. And I was encouraging everyone to take notes so that we'll become familiar with the vocabulary here. And he's talked about the 4 types or 4 characteristics of Krishna's personality. This Dhirodata, Dhiralalit, Dhirshanta, and Dhirodatta. These are 4 types of heroes. Now, as a result of that hearing, Brajanath is asking, the qualities that you have described are mutually contradictory. The Dhiralalit is fickle, is frivolous. The Dhirashantaha is very sober. These seems to be contradictory qualities. Described are mutually contradictory. So how can they possibly exist at the same time in one Krishna? It's like going slow and going fast at the same time. How is it possible? Goswami. Krishna is by nature fully independent, autocratic, and supreme, and he has boundless opulence. It is by the action of Krishna's Achintya Shakti, inconceivable potency, that these contradictory qualities exist in him at the same time. For example, we read in the Kurma Purana, Ashtulas Chanuschaiva Stulo Nuschaiva Sarvataha Avarna Sarvata Prokta Shyamo Raktana Talochanaha Aishwarya Yogat Bhagavan Virud Artho Vibhudyate Tatapi Dosho Preme Naivararya Katanchana Guna Vrida Api Ete Samahraya Samantaha All contradictory qualities are splendidly and very beautifully manifest in Bhagavan at the same time, although he is intangible and minute in every way. He is tangible and all-pervading in every way. That means he's accessible in every way. That's what tangible means. He is devoid of mundane color, but he has a transcendental shyam hue, and the corners of his eyes are reddish. This is how he has been described in the Shastras. Bhagavan is said to possess contradictory virtues on account of his mystic opulence. Nevertheless, no fault can be attributed to Parameshvara. Although the aggregate of his qualities seems to be contradictory, these qualities are certainly virtues in all respects. We have the beautiful verse, Karmani anihasya bhavo, bhavo bhavasyata, ta durgashraya tari vayak pralayanam. This verse is saying, Karmani, Krishna works, and he doesn't work. Bhavo bhavasyate, he's born, and he's not born. It's the same person. He's born, and he's not born. He works, and he doesn't work. He's the embodiment of fearlessness, yet he runs away and hides in an ocean in Dwarka from his enemies. And Kalatmano Yat Pramo Yuteshram. He is the embodiment of austerity, yet he resides on an island with 16,000 queens, in 16,000 palaces at the same time, because he's detached. Even though he's with those queens, he's still detached. So it's saying that great sages are bewildered by these contradictions. It's like, for example, Queen Kunti could not conceive of Krishna being bound by a rope by Mother Yashoda. So these qualities, these contradictory qualities are there within the Lord. And we just have to accept his Achintya Shakti. This pushes it over the edge of our capabilities, our logical, rational reasoning. That has to be purified. if we're so stuck in the fact, well, this can't happen, if we don't have faith in the nature of transcendence, with the Achintya Shakti, how can a young boy of 7 years old lift a mountain? It's inconceivable. At the same time, he's a little boy, practically speaking, taking his mother's breast milk. At the same time, how is it conceivable? The mind has to really expand beyond the limitations of rationality. We're rational in the material world, applying our intelligence to the material nature to try and exploit it for our own happiness. But actually, this path is saying, blow that away and go beyond that rational idea. Not so easy, is it? It's a science, it's a journey. It's like a reconditioning of consciousness, of focus. But it's very ecstatic once you get the thread, because it's all empowered or powered by love. When the love starts to bloom in the heart towards Krishna, everything becomes reconciled. Yes, why can't Krishna do that? Of course he can do that. He is the Supreme Lord. This is again what we learn in the first 25 chapters about Sambandha. Krishna being the original Lord of all. Aham eva sam eva great, saying in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Before there was anything in existence, there was only Krishna. That means Krishna and his entourage. So many verses there. In the Mahabharata Purana, it is stated, Sarva nitya shashvatas cha dehastasya paramatmanaha anopadana rahita naiva prakritija kvachit paramananda sadoha jnanamatras cha sarvataha sarve sarva guna purna sarva dosha vivarjitaha. The bodies of that Paramatma are nitya and free from the two types of activities known as giving up and accepting. That means completely detached. His bodies are not born from material nature, but are composed of consciousness and are the embodiment of Paramananda. Each and every limb of his body is filled with all transcendental qualities and is free from all defects. So we have no experience of this in the material world. That's why it's difficult for us to accept Krishna. We have no experience of eternality in this world. There's nothing that you've experienced that is eternal. Everything we're seeing all around us is all going to turn to dust in 1,000 years' time. Even our bodies. Except our spirit souls, they are eternal. But we don't know our spirit souls, so we haven't had realization of that eternal nature. It's a very wonderful meditation. What is the nature of eternality? It's beyond the rational, beyond intelligence. If we're holding on to our intelligence all the time, we're not going to reach that unbounded spiritual consciousness. The Vaishnava Tantra states, Astadasha Mahadoshai Rahita Bhagavattanu Sarvaivaryanmaya Satya Vijnananda Rupini. Bhagavan is endowed with all kinds of superhuman power, perfect knowledge and joy, and his body is freed from the 18 types of general faults. These 18 general faults are Mohastandra Brahmo Ruksha Rasata Karma Ulbana Lolata Mada Matsaryo Himsa Keda Harishramo Asatyam Groda Akancha Ashanka Vishva Vibrama Vishamatva Parapeksha Dosha Asta Sodita. Illusion. This is from the Vishnu Yama. Illusion, lethargy. Krishna is freed from these qualities. Illusion, lethargy, bewilderment, dullness, intense lust, fickleness, pride, envy, violence, remorse, desire for excessive peace and comfort. We are often looking for this excessive peace and comfort. Untruthfulness, anger, hankering, fear, hallucination, contradiction, and the tendency to depend on others. This dependence on others is actually considered like an apparat, practically. It's a fault. It's a defect. We shouldn't have this dependence on others. It's saying in the Bhagavatam that if, like, for example, a guru, if he has many sevaks, many servants doing everything for him, what does it do? It weakens him. It weakens his ability to do that. If he's always depending on someone to do this and someone to do that, he's weakening himself. Bhagavatam says like this, having this dependence on other people. All of a sudden, all those sevaks disappear and he's left alone and he can't even, boil the water to make, tea or whatever he's doing, So this dependence on others is not encouraged at all. All these transcendental qualities are present in the forms of the avatars, and they are expressed to the utmost extent in Sri Krishna, who is Avatari, the origin of all avatars. In addition to these, Krishna possesses a further 8 qualities which indicate his manliness, Purushattva. These are Shobha, beauty, Vilas, fascinating transcendental pastimes, Madhurya, sweetness, Mangalya, auspiciousness, Sthirata, stability, Teja, brilliance, Lalit, playfulness, and Audarya, munificence. So these are the qualities of Krishna. These are what he doesn't have, and these are what he does have. Describe that. He's freed from these lower qualities, and he has all these good qualities. This is what I said at the beginning, that this Rasa Tattva is all about Krishna. We have to leave our own material desires behind for the reading of these chapters, and our own hankerings for liberation or something like that. We have to leave them behind. This chapter is not moving in that direction. It's moving towards glorification of Krishna. His beauty is particularly noticeable in kindness towards the lowly, rivalry towards his peers, valor, enthusiasm, dexterity, and revelation of truth. You see, this is all elaborating on these 4 qualities that were described: Dhirodata, Dhirodita, Dhir Lalit, and Dhir Shantaha. These 4 qualities of Krishna. Now this is what's being elaborated on further, opening up. His profound manner, calm glance, and humorous words. His Madhurya, sweetness, is noticeable, for pleasing loveliness is manifest in all his activities. For pleasing loveliness is manifest in all his activities. His auspiciousness is the abode of faith of the entire world. His stability means that he is not deviated in any activity. His brilliance means attracting the attention of everyone towards himself. He exhibits an abundance of amorous sentiments and endeavors, and is thus called Lalit, playful. His mood of completely offering himself is called Audarya. Sri Krishna is the crest jewel of all heroes, and in his human-like pastimes, sages such as Garga have been described as his assistants in the matter of dharma, Kshatriyas such as Yuyudhan in matters of war. Yuyudhana, he's generally called Satyaki, and he's a dearmost friend of Arjun and Krishna. Satyaki, he's a great Mahabharata hero. So Yuyudhana in matters of war, and ministers such as Uddhav in matters of counseling. This is all about Krishna's characteristics. Rajanath, I fully understand how Krishna is the heroic personification of mellows. Now please tell us about Krishna's bhaktas who are fit to experience rasa and who are included in the category of vibhav. So now about the bhaktas. This was about Krishna, now let's hear about Krishna's bhaktas. Goswami, only those whose hearts are overwhelmed by loving sentiments for Krishna can be bhaktas in Rasa Tattva. This is what I've been saying from the beginning. It's about our developing our one-pointed attraction to Krishna. We're parking our philosophical concepts and so many things like this in the journey towards self-realization, so to speak. And we're just here now focusing on Krishna's qualities. All of the 29 qualities, from truthfulness to bashfulness, being embarrassed by true statements, which have been described in relation to Krishna, are also found in his bhaktas. So these qualities, we understand this, achintya bheda bheda tattva, we've discussed this, that the jiva has minute qualities the same as the Lord. And as we meditate on the Lord, these qualities within us will begin to grow in relationship to our attraction, or in according to the degree of our attraction to Krishna. Those qualities will expand within us to reciprocate with him. Otherwise, how can we reciprocate with him? In our very mundane condition, we're not eligible to reciprocate with Krishna in any really loving dealing. We're too afraid, we're too, mental, we're too kind of like rational. All these inhibitions are there within us. So all these have to be purified. And they're purified by hearing about Krishna. This is the process of purification. Rajanath, how many types of Krishna's bhaktas are fit to experience rasa? Goswami, by the way, sometimes it's called, we say rasa, and sometimes we say ras. You can say either way. Either way, pronounce it. Goswami, there are two types, the sadhak and the siddha. Rajanath, who is the sadhak? Goswami, sadhaks are those in whom ruchi for the topics of Krishna has arisen, and who have acquired the qualification to have direct darshan of Krishna, but who have not yet completely surpassed all obstacles and difficulties. So, but we are focusing on Krishna. Our objective is Krishna. It's like this chaya as opposed to the pratibimba. Madhyam bhaktas adorned with the symptoms described in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:246, Ishvare tad abhineshu, are in the category of sadhak. So this very beautiful verse is described in the 11th canto, Ishvare tad adineshu baleshu dvisheshu cha, prema maitri kripaksha ya karoti sa madhyama. I want to read this translation just for our benefit. A Madhyam Bhagavat is one who has love for Ishvara and his pure devotees, friendship towards his bhaktas, shows mercy towards those who are innocent in regard to bhakti, and neglects those who are inimical to Ishvara or his bhaktas. So this we discussed in the 8th chapter. Remember, with Haridas Babaji, in the 8th chapter, we discussed all of this. Everything we're reading now in these last 14 chapters, we've already made the groundwork, so to speak, in the first chapters. Rajanath, Prabhu, are the bhaktas described in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:247, Acharyam eva hariye, not eligible to experience rasa? So that verse, I just want to read you this verse because this is important also. This is that verse 11:247. A devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly towards other devotees or people in general is called a prakrita bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position. That's a kanishta. So he's talked about the madhyam, now he's talking about the kanishta. He's asking a question about the kanishta. He's saying, are these bhaktas eligible to experience ras? Is the kanishta. Goswami, they are not sadhaks until they become shuddha bhaktas. So they can't even call them a sadhak until they actually, this is why my Gurudev constantly said, quickly come out of this kanishta platform, come to the madhyam platform. Very quickly we need to come to this madhyam.
Kanishta is not...
No, kanishta is nothing. Kanishta is actually... No,
Don't say
it's what it's saying. It's very,
I
very,
didn't know before.
very junior. Very
I
junior.
think we all thought. But now I understand.
No, but
we
my
know.
Gurudev said, we are, yes, it's true. But we have to quickly come from that. My Gurudev used to say, if you can tell the distinction between Mathura, Dwarka and Vrindavan, you know what is Madhurya Dham, you're no longer a Kanishta. You quickly understand these qualities of Krishna. You quickly begin to understand who is Krishna. This is what this is explaining. We're still talking about the qualities of Krishna. It's all about Krishna now. The previous chapters were Sambandha Gyan, were about me and Krishna, Jiva Tattva, Shakti Tattva. But this is only about Krishna now, exclusive. That's why I said at the beginning, if someone doesn't just want to know about Krishna and finds it kind of boring, they actually want to go back into the Sambandha, well, go back. It's all there for our purification. But if someone is eager to go forward and further, that's the note of qualification. That's the indication of our adhikar. If you actually genuinely want to hear about Krishna, something has woken up. Yes, give me Krishna, give me Krishna. I'm fed up with this myself, self all the time. I just want Krishna, Krishna, Krishna in relationship to my pure self. They are not sadhaks until they become Shuddha Bhaktas by the mercy of other Shuddha Bhaktas. Has to be another Shuddha Bhakta. Only personalities like Bilva Mangal are genuine sadhaks. Look what Bilva Mangala did. It always astonishes me. His lust was so overwhelming and disturbing for him, he took the hairpins and scratched his eyes out. Imagine. He didn't want to even look at the face of a girl. That's really intense. Every time I think of him, it's like, wow, you know, what sort of nishta was that? That's so harsh, you know. But Krishna came straight to him and guided him to Vrindavan. He was so anxious to be with Krishna, and this lust was such a disturbance for him. Only personalities like Bilva Mangal are genuine sadhaks. Brajanath. Who are the Siddha Bhaktas? Goswami. Siddha Bhaktas are those who do not experience any suffering, whose activities are all performed under the shelter of Sri Krishna, and who always taste the happiness of prem. There are two types of Siddha Bhaktas, those who have gained perfection, Samprapta Siddha, and those who are eternally perfect, Nitya Siddha. So two types of Siddha Bhaktas. We should appreciate this. Brajana. Who are the Bhaktas who have gained perfection? Samprapta Siddha. So he's going to describe these two kinds now. Goswami. They are also of two types. Those who attained perfection through sadhana, sadhana siddha, and those who achieve perfection by mercy, kripa siddha. Brajanath. Who are the Nitya Siddhas? Goswami. Sri Rupa Goswami has said, Atmakoti gunam Krishne premanam paramam gata nityananda guna sarve nitya siddha mukandavat. This is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1-290. The Nitya Siddhas are those who, like Mukunda, are the embodiment of the Anand and whose qualities are eternal. Their main symptom is that they are endowed with prem for Krishna that is 10 million times more than they have even for themselves. So this is what I've been saying repeatedly since the very beginning. We're going from our self-introspection to the super self, so to speak, to Krishna himself, that introspection. It is said in the Uttarakhand of the Padma Purana, Yata Somitra Bharato Yata Sankarshanadaya Tata Tanaiva Jayante Nijalokad Yadrichaya Punastai Tenaiva Gachanti Tatpadam Shashvatam Param Na Karma Bandhanam Janma Vaishnavanam Chavidyate. Vaishnavas are not bound by karma, nor do they take birth like mundane human beings. Rather, they appear as Lakshman and Bharat, the sons of Sumitra, appeared with Sri Ramchandra as Balaram and others appear in this material world with Bhagavan Sri Krishna by his will, and then return again to the eternal transcendental abode along with him, or as the members of the Yadu dynasty also appear in Bhagavan's manifest pastimes, and then return with him to the supreme abode, Paramadam, and when his pastimes become unmanifest. You understand? These are the siddhas, these are the perfected souls. Brajanath, Prabhu, I have understood the alamban aspect of vibhav. Now kindly explain what is referred to as udipan. So we're still describing what is vibhav. We're still in this section. So I've given you the reference in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu with the diagram of vibhav. What is the alamban and what is the vishaya? So now we're going to go to what is the alamban and what is the udipan? So now we're going to go to the udipan. Goswami, udipan is that which causes bhav to be excited or stimulated. Krishna's qualities, his activities, laughter, and the fragrance of his bodily limbs, his flute, bugle horn, ankle bells, conch shell, and footprints, the places of pastimes, Tulsi, his bhaktas, the auspicious times such as Ekadashi, Harivarsha, and so on are all udipan. Krishna's qualities, guna, are of three types related to his body, mind, and speech respectively, kaika, manisika, and vachika. So these are all described clearly, as I've said from the beginning, in this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is a new edition on page 178. All his these pastimes are here that we've just described. Actually, it's on page 176 and 177. So as I've said, we're going through this, but it's paralleling this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. Every chapter is going to be parallel. So it makes it, these are all diagrams very nicely mapped out so we can get the picture. So it's not sort of far away, it's more tangible to us. We can actually grab it to some degree and at least begin to appreciate the structure of this rasa explanation. Age, Vyas, is prominent amongst the qualities relating to his body. There are three divisions of Krishna's age: Komara, Poganda, and Keshora. Komaram Panchamahapadantam Pogandam dasam avidi asodas chacha kaishoram yovanam syat tataparam. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1.306. See, everything is coming from this. It's coming from the Bindu in diagram forms, but it's originally from the Sindhu of Rupa Goswami. The Kumara period lasts until the age of 5. The Poganda period lasts from this point until the age of 10. And the Kashora stage begins at the age of 10 and continues until the age of 16. The age after that is called Yovana. The Kaishora stage also has three divisions, which are called the beginning, middle, and end: Adya, Madhya, and Shesha. Among the bodily qualities, the consideration of beauty is predominant. Beauty is present when the bodily limbs are in proper proportion to each other. It's also a description of Krishna's proportion, all the limbs of his body. Clothing, decoration, and the arrangement of articles, including the hair and so on, is called prasadam. Krishna has three kinds of flute: Vamsi, Venu, Murali. The Venu is 12 fingers long and as thick as a thumb, and has 6 holes. The Murali has 2 hands in length and has 4 finger holes beside the hole in the mouthpiece. The Vamsi is 17 fingers long. Of this, there is a clear space of 3 finger widths at the tail end. At the head end of the flute is another space of 4 finger widths, which is also clear, except for the hole for blowing, which is half a finger's width from the end. In the middle is a space containing 8 finger holes, separated from each other by a gap of half a finger's width. The Vamsi, therefore, has a total of 9 holes. So nothing is imaginary here. Everything is totally authentic. This is an absolute description of Krishna's most famous flute. The conch shell that turns to the right and rests radiantly in Krishna's hand is called Panchajanya. Through these udipans, the rati of the bhaktas awakens, and when it is directed towards Krishna, the object of rati, it becomes the very embodiment of Anand. Rati is Staibhav, and it alone transforms into rasa. So get the mood that where we're going. We're describing Krishna's qualities in explicit detail, and when one catches that wave, that current, then it becomes so intoxicatingly blissful. We just become hungry to know more and more and more about Krishna. And thoughts of myself and my selfish desires just fall away in the background. Because those selfish desires are going to make me miserable. They're going to bring me into this material conception. That's all they're going to do. Come here tomorrow at the same time and I will tell you about rasa. And I will also explain Anubhav and so on. Vijay Kumar and Brajanath offered dandavats to Sri Gopal Guru Goswami's lotus feet and took their leave. Absorbed in contemplation on the subject of ras, they went to have darshan of Siddha Bakul. From there they went to take darshan of Sri Jagannath Dev and then returned to their quarters. So we know Siddha Bakul is the sitting place of Haridas Thakur. It's a most auspicious, profound place. So this is where they went, considering all these topics. But understand, this is the first chapter, 26th chapter about rasa. And the principal focus is on Krishna, 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 Krishna. Even to the extent of describing these absolute details of his flute. His flute. Nothing to do with me. I'm out of the picture. So it's Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And then that current will begin to cover the heart's selfishness. And then the Lord's focus will come into our attention. So this is the nature of Bhakti Ras, which is the gift of Sachinandan Gaurahari. Just a detail about Sri Gopal Guru. Someone was explaining me today how they went to have darshan in the Radha Kant Mandir of the house of Kashish Mishra, where is the Gambhira temple. And they looked, and normally you can see a murti of Gopal Guru, but they were looking through and they couldn't see the Gopal Guru murti. So they asked the pujari, where is Gopal Guru? And they say, oh, he's offering the bhoga. So what they do, they take that murti of Gopal Guru, because you see him in the first chamber, when you look in the door of the Radhakant temple, you see the murti of Gopal Guru. They take that Gopal Guru into the main altar, and he's the person who's offering the bhoga to Radhakant. Very beautiful, huh? This is how they do it. This is how the pujaris do it in this Radhakant Mandir. So I thought that was just something nice to share with you. So yes, we've completed chapter 26 in just 2 days. This is amazing. We've just really bang, bang, bang gone through. But what is the principal focus? The principal focus is, please absorb your mind in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, and in this edition also, both these editions, and all of these Udipan Vibhavs are explained. And there's a nice diagram here about Krishna's flutes, his Venu, Murali, and Vamsi. And when we start to meditate on these descriptions, then something very special starts to happen in the heart, genuinely. Because we're genuinely showing an interest in Krishna's paraphernalia. Not just, oh, that Krishna that I want to give me peace and happiness and relief from the material world. So we transitioned from the Sambandha section into the Rasa section. It's a huge leap, actually. But we've done the homework. We've studied the Das Mula very carefully. This is the foundation. We have all the Siddhanta and Tattva from the Dasamula to support our eligibility to come into this area. If we weren't paying attention in the Dasamula, it'll become bewildering in this Bhakti Ras section. So I think we're most blessed. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is carrying us into this place of rasa. It's a very confidential place. It's like secret, like when you go to Varshana and you go through Sankari Core. Only one person can go at a time through there, right? You can't even, you try to take two people and it's not possible. Only one can go. So only you personally can enter into the bhav and nature of this rasa tattva. Rati and bhav are the same. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has made that very, very clear. So it's a single, individual, unique, focused. And we all have our incredible individuality. So we have to stay in that individual place and chant our Mahamantra. Remember all these different, and perhaps tomorrow while we're chanting, remember Krishna's flute. Remember the Vamsi, the Murali, the Venu, these three types of flute. And if you start to read about them, you can start to appreciate the difference in size, qualities. They each have different language which they speak. This flute is amazing. Have you ever heard the flute? I'm waiting to hear also. My Gurudev described it once when we were in Vrindavan. He said it goes up and it goes down. It goes in waves like this. So if we're hungry enough, we will hear a fraction of that sound vibration to transport us. Jai Vedama ki jai, Rasa Tattva ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gold Prem Vrinda.